Welcome back to DeadBall TV, guys. In this video, we're going to be going through my winners and losers from the 2025 CONCACAF Gold Cup. Now, if I really wanted to include every single winner and every single loser, this would be an hour-long video. Some truths only need to be spoken one time, and if you guys haven't seen my group stage grades for every single team, I probably vented enough about some of the losers already in that video. But a few were so bad that they're gonna get dragged again here today. Before we get into this, of course, smash the like button. Let me know your biggest winner and your biggest loser. I don't need the complete list, just one and one down below in the comments. And of course, if you guys like videos about CONCACAF, make sure you're subscribed. This might be my last Gold Cup video, but this is not the last video covering the region. We have the friendlies for the big teams who are preparing to host the World Cup. We have CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers, which I already made a preview video for, and I'm going to be covering those games as well. So plenty of stuff for you guys here to enjoy. Make sure you're subscribed. We're going to start with the winners, but I'll put timestamps down below if you just want to skip right to the loser section, because I know most of the audience I've accrued here on YouTube are straight haters. But the first winner I want to talk about is Javier Aguirre, Mexico's manager. El Vasco already has 2 trophies in charge as Mexican manager. I think he broke a record for being the only Mexican manager to have multiple Gold Cup trophies, which is kind of insane if you think about the fact that, you know, 10 of these have been won, 13 if you include the CONCACAF championship previously, but I guess that's just the life cycle of a Mexican manager. I've always said that it is one of the most difficult jobs in world football. I would classify it as a top 3 difficult job in the world, probably just beneath England and Brazil. And I think sometimes in footy we become way too dismissive if a team performs to their expectations, especially if the expectation was to win. I don't ever want to downplay winning a trophy on this channel, and if I've ever done that in the past, I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that anymore, because winning is freaking hard, and the fact that Aguirre was able to do that twice already, he deserves props for that. On top of winning the trophy, which of course is an amazing achievement alone, he also did so actually experimenting with the squad, rotating as needed, and debuting young players, some that we've been calling for a long time, aka Marcel Ruiz. But also you have Gilberto Mora, the 16-year-old for Mexico, youngest debut in the history of the team, playing and starting both the semifinal and the final. And that is a level of huevos that we have not seen a Mexican manager have for a long time. It would have been so easy for Aguirre to just play the same guys over and over again, like Jimmy Lozano did in 2023. Well, guess what? We won that tournament too, only in 2025, I feel like we did it the right way. Now, it wasn't a perfect Gold Cup for Javier Aguirre, but I think if you compare him to the other managers that came into the tournament with expectations, who did better than him? Did Mauricio Pochettino outperform expectations? Hell no. What about Jesse Marsch? Did Jesse Marsch silence the critics in this Gold Cup? I get to him later. And spoiler, it's not going to be in the winners section. Thomas Christensen, you guys know I love that man, but I cannot say Thomas Christensen had a flawless Gold Cup. He made big mistakes. There are still doubts about Aguirre, of course, but I think most of them have to do actually with Mexico's player pool, more so than El Vasco himself. So yeah, he did what he needed to do. He could have just played the old guys like every other Mexican manager did. He could have flopped like some of the other high-profile managers did at this tournament. And I think across all objectives, he succeeded. The next winner, and this one's a bit more meta, dark horses and drama. And I would even add entertainment on top of that. There were way more upsets in this Gold Cup than we've seen for a long time. My biggest issue with CONCACAF, and probably the biggest issue that you, your mom, your girlfriend, if you have one, has with this federation, is that it's just so predictable. There is no parity inside CONCACAF. Typically at most, we get like one upset in the entire tournament, and it's never really a big team. It's usually like, I don't know, Honduras getting upset. That's like the biggest thing that happens, like, you know, them getting grouped in 2023, but nothing earth-shattering. Whereas I feel like in this tournament, we had several earth-shattering moments, at least relatively speaking to CONCACAF, right? I don't think the Europeans care about the Gold Cup. I don't think they ever will. They don't even rate the Copa America. They don't care about AFCON. So let's not try to appease folks who cannot be appeased. Let's not try to make the blind able to see again. We had Jamaica not making it out of the group stage. We had Canada getting knocked out by Guatemala. We had Panama getting knocked out by Honduras. 3 of the 4 quarterfinals went to penalties. The only quarterfinal that didn't was Mexico beating Saudi Arabia. Moving on to the semifinals, yes, it was the United States and Mexico who eventually won, but I think both games were quality, especially the Guatemala-USA game. Like, that was a fun match. Even games in the the group stage that didn't really amount to anything. Dominican Republic versus Mexico. Such a fun game. Overall, man, I just really loved this Gold Cup. I felt like it was so fun. I've not had this much fun covering a Gold Cup probably since 2017. I mean, it's been a minute. I would have to dust off the ancient scrolls. With some freaking bangers too, man. We had Dante Seeley's goal against Saudi Arabia. Pure class. Ismael Diaz dancing on the entire Jamaica team. Peter Gonzalez dancing on Mexico. There was a lot of good stuff here. So I think any of the neutrals who did watch this tournament, I do like to think that you were at least entertained. Cue the gladiator meme. The next winner is really Central America, but I want to focus on Guatemala specifically. This is like a two-part winner. Now for Central America, let me start there. There were 4 teams from Central America in the quarterfinals, 2 of those in the semifinals. The last time that 2 teams from Central America made the semifinals was 2013, so it's been a while. Obviously, Guatemala are the biggest winner of the Central American teams. I think Costa Rica making it out of Group A was a minor dub, but they weren't able to defeat the United States, so it's not really a great story. You know, Guatemala stole all the headlines, both with how they played, but also with some of the teams that they took down along the way, beating Canada on pens, beating Jamaica, beating Guadeloupe. I mean, this was a great tournament for Guatemala, narrowly losing to the United States. Even Honduras, that's much more of like a redemption story. It's not quite as unexpected as Guatemala making the semis, but for real, y'all, who had Honduras in the semifinals? None of us had Honduras there. The coach, Rueda, did not even have them in the semifinals. And so if you want to like divide CONCACAF into like Caribbean, Central America, North America, I feel like Central America really did put respect on the region. Now, I do have a couple of player winners. I'm going to go through these very quickly. Number 1, Tajon Buchanan, 3 goals in this tournament. Really good redemption story from him. Looks like he's earned his starting spot back with Canada, and I like to see that. I don't want to see my man struggling. You know, he hasn't played a lot for Canada lately, hasn't played a lot at club level. He was at Villarreal on loan recently, dealing with injuries. Good to see him back. Malik Tillman, I think it was very important that he came into this Gold Cup, balled out the way he did, and silenced that portion of the U.S. men's national team fan base that, I don't know if they were haters. I think they were just more doubters and frustrated. Like, why are you so good in the Eredivisie, but you can't do anything with us? I don't think anybody's saying that anymore. Andres Andrade from Panama, really good to see him back in the squad. He's a center back for Panama. I think he's playing I think he plays in Bulgaria or some Eastern European league. Forgive me, I can't remember right now, but he's been out of the Panamanian squad for a while, also due to a very serious injury, and I thought he had a good Gold Cup in the 3 games that he played. Garano Kirk from Suriname, plays for Royal Antwerp, 29 years old, just a stud. I mean, I know Suriname finished on 1 point, but like if you want to talk about guys who put butts in seats inside the region of CONCACAF, Garano Kirk, like the streets will not forget this performance at the Gold Cup. He just showed up to ball. Like he didn't even show up to win, he just showed up to ball. Ismael Diaz, top goal scorer of the Gold Cup. Crazy stat here. Ismael Diaz has 16 goals in 50 games for Panama. 11 of those 16 goals have come in the Gold Cup. So this man feasts at this tournament. He's going to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and honestly, he's eating with his bare hands. No silverware needed, no utensils, no nothing. He's just going to town every single time this tournament kicks off, and I love Ismael Diaz. I hope that he continues to start for Panama because I do think he's one of their best attacking players, and he's, again, really fun to watch. If you guys haven't seen the Jamaica game highlights, I would pause this video, open a new tab, and I would continue. And, of course, Gilberto Mora from Mexico, youngest debutant for the national team. 16 years old, game-winning assist in the semifinal, starts the final again. I was really worried he was going to get benched, and has a very good game. Like, I would say he probably got spoken about more in the final than Marcel Ruiz, even though Ruiz gets the assist. And I'm not saying that Ruiz didn't have a good game. They both had a good game. And the fact that that happened makes me very excited because it does seem like the future's very bright for Mexico. So just shout out to him, man. I hope he just keeps a level head and just keeps balling out. Don't buy into the next Mexican Pedri hype. Just be you. Just be Mora, bro. Don't worry about Pedri or being Xavi or anything like that. Just be you. And finally, speaking of young bright stars who I think have a good future, Nico Sigor with Canada. I'm not really sure what this guy's main position is. I believe it's fullback, but he was playing left mid, left back, center back, right back for Canada in this Gold Cup, and I think he did pretty good overall. So I think of the Canadian depth pieces, the ones that at least have any bit of hype, I do think Sigor is the real deal. So again, shout out to him. And that's it for the winners, guys. Time to move on to the losers. Firstly, I think media coverage overall was a loser of this tournament. I still don't think that this tournament is covered well enough by the mainstream media. There's a lot of like half-assed videos that get released and like really dry surface level coverage and predictions and previews where it's obvious that the guys talking don't know anybody who plays for Guatemala. They don't, and if they do, it's Aaron Herrera because he used to, be a U.S. youth player, or Ruben as well. That's all they talk about is like, oh, these guys used to be American. Well, now they're Guatemala. Yeah, what about the rest of the team? Anyways, and then I feel like with other teams like Guadeloupe, Suriname, Dominican Republic, I mean, forget about it, dude. There just wasn't really a lot of good coverage. And I'm not saying mine is perfect because I don't know the entire starting 11 for Dominican Republic. I don't know the entire starting 11 for El Salvador. God help you if you do. And it's not even really about the comprehensive previews. I mean, I'm a footy nerd, so I would like to see that. I would like to watch videos and learn versus like just learning entirely through myself and sometimes through comments that you guys leave on videos. I just think we need to be hyping this up, man. The narrative is just dominated by USB team. That's like the only thing that gets spoken about. Nobody's really talking about Curacao and how close they were to having a really, really good tournament. Nobody's really putting enough respect on this Honduran comeback after the evisceration they suffered against Canada. It's just like whenever there's a win in this tournament, it doesn't get amplified. But when there's an L in this tournament, especially if it's involving one of the better teams, then it's just headline after headline. But I just didn't feel like we were talking about enough teams. Like, I didn't see enough while this was going on. It was really frustrating. We're having like 2-3 games a day, and I check Twitter, I check YouTube, and everything is just about the USA game. Everything's just about the Mexico game. Nothing's talking about Costa Rica. Nobody's talking about Haiti. And I'm just like, it's a missed opportunity because we need to build the stories of all the other teams if this tournament is ever going to have the hype that I do think it deserves. For the next loser, I have to go with Mauricio Pochettino. Some people in the comments would be like, it's the USA. No, it's not. This collection of US players making the final and losing, I don't care if they would have lost 2-0, 3-0, it doesn't matter. It was still a successful tournament because this group of U.S. players should not be expected to win. So then why is Mauricio Pochettino a loser? I'm glad you asked. Whether it's fair or not, Pochettino had a certain standard and a certain set of requirements when he was hired. And the fact is that a United States manager, one with European pedigree, has now gone 2 consecutive tournaments without a trophy, and has also gone 2 consecutive tournaments with the fan base at the conclusion of said tournament being more pessimistic than they were when it started. The belief in the team is going down, the accolades of the team are going down, and Pochettino, as manager, he's not the sole person responsible, but he's got to take the brunt of that criticism. Not only that, but now it's 2 consecutive losses against Mexico, which is something that hasn't happened in over 6 years. I've spoken about this many times on the channel. Whether it's fair or not, Pochettino's expectation was to come in, take this collection of players that were made under Greg Berhalter, take the achievements of Greg Berhalter, take the performances under Greg Berhalter and amplify them. He was supposed to be a multiplier. He was supposed to be the catalyst, you could say, for the United States taking that next step. And looking at all of his games in charge, does a single person feel that way? The answer has to be no. Even Greg Berhalter won a Gold Cup with all backup players. Now, I don't think Berhalter had to beat a Mexican side that was this good in the final, right? I think this team, 2025 starting 11 versus 2021 starting 11, 2025 for Mexico completely sweeps. I don't know if a single player from 2021 makes it in. Probably Tecatito at left wing. The rest of the team was pretty bad. So again, adding context for Pochettino, he's not a failure because he didn't win the Gold Cup. He's a failure because he's failed to achieve what he was hired to do. And I think the secondary objectives for the United States were pretty much failed across the board at this tournament. I think his in-game management specifically looks terrible. The substitutions look terrible. His marriages to certain players in the U.S. pool who simply are not good enough. They might be great guys off the pitch. They might be hilarious in the locker room. They're not good footballers, and Pochettino is loyal to that group of players. A group of players that will not be able to achieve any of the objectives that they want at the next World Cup. I mean, seriously, y'all, tell me one thing Pochettino has not failed at so far as U.S. manager. And I love this guy. He's one of my favorite managers ever. I don't want to see him fail. I don't want to see him do better than Mexico, but I don't want to see him fail. And right now, it just seems like he's disconnected, out of touch, barely invested. It's not good. He's trying to cook, but he's using all expired ingredients. And the concoction that he is making is toxic. And he doesn't have a lot of time to turn this around. So I think reputationally, he's taken a big hit here. And I think from the fans, the ones that have, bought in immediately when he was hired, the faith has been shaken. And the next loser, this is also a 2-for-1 here. The Caribbean overall, spearheaded, of course, by the Jamaican national team. For the Caribbean, this was a pretty abysmal Gold Cup, and I don't really think there's any other way to put it. I think the only teams that put respect on the Caribbean were Curacao. I put them number 1. I'd probably put Suriname number 2, but even though the Dominican Republic, like I said, somebody had to get 3 points in that group, and they failed. They couldn't beat each other. So it kind of is just Curacao. I mean, the Dominicans and the Surinamese, they gave us entertainment. Did they put respect on the Caribbean? I don't know. Like, you let me know down below. You can make an argument either which way. Trinidad freaking sucked. Haiti flopped so hard. Guadeloupe, I mean, they just show up here to score goals. They're not really here to win. And then Jamaica, who are the biggest frauds in international football. At this Gold Cup, not a single Caribbean team made the knockouts. That is so embarrassing. That means from the top 8 teams of the tournament, not a single one was from the Caribbean. In 2023, we had just one team. It was Jamaica. It was also just Jamaica in 2021. But in 2019, we had Curacao, Haiti, and Jamaica made the knockouts. Haiti and Jamaica made the semifinals. And in 2015, freaking Cuba made it. And 4 of the 8 teams were Caribbean. If y'all want one more insane stat to just wrap this all up in a pretty bow, the Caribbean had 1 win combined the entire tournament. That was Jamaica beating Guadeloupe. That was friendly fire. And that win wasn't even deserved. So the one time the Caribbean got a dub, it was against the Caribbean. It's absolute peak for this part of the world right now, man. They really got to use World Cup qualifying to regain some of the respect that was certainly lost during this Gold Cup. And a lot of these teams get hyped up, man. Suriname gets a lot of hype. Jamaica, good God, the most overhyped team in international football. Trinidad, I don't understand why we're still pretending this team has quality. It has to end. At some point, the results must validate the discussion, and that's not happened at all. And then, of course, there's Jamaica specifically, where getting grouped has an argument to be the biggest L of all the L's. There were a lot of L's at this tournament that happened. Getting grouped at the Copa America is one thing because, yeah, you're playing Ecuador, Venezuela, Mexico. But when you're getting grouped at a Gold Cup, like, guys, that doesn't happen very often. This is not the World Cup where we often see, one of the bigger teams go down and get upset. And so for Jamaica to not lose 1, but 2 games in the group stage and terrorize and honestly cheat their way to a win against Guadeloupe is stunning to me. These guys are the Cleveland Browns of CONCACAF, and I am a Cleveland Browns fan, so I can say that. And I know and can sympathize with the state of the Jamaican fan because they must be just apathetic, just emotionally checked out at this point. It's like as soon as you put on the Jamaican shirt, it just sucks away your footballing ability. And how these guys have not been able to find 3 individuals with Jamaican ancestry who can somewhat make up a midfield is a huge failure. And Steve McClaren, man, this guy looks like a significant downgrade to Hallgrimsson. And there were Jamaicans who were very upset with Hallgrimsson, said the football was too boring, said we need something else. We have to take advantage of our attacking players. Well, your attacking players aren't good, man. And I think everybody owes Hallgrimsson an apology because this iteration of Jamaica is an abomination. Another loser, one that I have to be honest about, is Panama. I faced several accusations, serious accusations, some of them true, about being the biggest Panamanian simp on the internet. And while I do love this team, the cold hard truth is they flopped. And what makes their flop, I think, the most painful, you could say, is the fact that they were the best team, hands down, during the group stage. Nobody was even close. And in the end, it meant nothing because they were unable to put the game away against Honduras. They were the better side for the first 75 minutes, had multiple chances to win, and they kind of just turned back into regular Panama. And this is why I don't understand when people try to downplay Thomas Christensen, because they act as if Thomas Christensen has the weapons in the shed equal to Canada or equal to Mexico, equal to the United States, and that's simply not true. Panama do not have good depth pieces. Period. Looking at this midfield without Coco Carrasquilla is scary. They can beat up the poor teams, B tier and below in CONCACAF, but if one of those guys has to get subbed off, a la Christian Martinez in the quarterfinal, it goes to hell really, really fast. And look, this team had expectations at this Gold Cup, period. I think they should have made the semifinal minimum. There was an argument that they should have made the final. I don't think anybody was saying they should have won the whole thing. That's a little crazy. But this is a team that's trying to enter the Kings of CONCACAF conversation. And a quarterfinal loss is unacceptable. And I don't really think they'll be able to re-enter that chat until the next World Cup. And my final loser is Canada. The honeymoon phase for Jesse Marsch is completely over. Comment down below, actually, if Jesse Marsch is the bigger loser or if the Canadian national team is the bigger loser, because I can see both. For Jesse Marsch specifically, I think he demonstrated terrible tournament management and terrible game management. The Curaçao game was awful. I think Canada deserved to lose that game. I think the substitutions didn't make any sense and the game plan didn't make any sense, which was the first of 2 games that he showed at this tournament. He cannot defend a lead. Canada concedes against Curaçao and they conceded against Guatemala in the quarterfinals. And if you're Jesse Marsch, you're saying, okay, if it happens once, then it's like, okay, whatever, things happen. You know, the opposition's also has quality. You have to give them respect. But when it happens twice, questions must be asked, and questions were asked about his tactics when Canada went down a man against Guatemala. And Jesse Marsch has this reputation of like burning through teams, and I don't know, he's like a white dwarf. I don't even know if astrologically speaking that's correct, but he burns bright and then poof, he's gone. And in this tournament, we saw Jonathan David literally ran into the ground. We saw Alphonso Davies get injured in the last Nations League. Now, I don't think that's Jesse Marsch's fault. That's probably the fact Davies played, 40 games for Bayern Munich this season. But what I'm trying to get at is that, like, we can see the cracks starting to form. And I think this is a truly pivotal moment now for Canada and Jesse Marsch, because they were the second favorite to win this tournament, and they end up winning 2 games overall, Honduras and El Salvador, and they go out in the quarterfinals, and they had most of their squad here, and it's just a huge freaking L. Jesse Marsch has tried to instill this bad guy, tough dude mentality in the team, and I think the results so far are mixed. Like, I think the Canadians are trying to buy into it. I just don't know if it's the right brand for them, which that can be debated a different day, and I don't want to go into that now, but yeah, man, Canada had to make at least the semifinal. And the fact that this is the second tournament consecutively where we've been hyping up this USA-Canada matchup and Canada folds before that matchup can happen, you gotta say stock down. This is a team that Canadians especially believe they have one hand on the CONCACAF throne. They believe they have a strong argument to be the Kings, and they just can't consistently demonstrate that that is a just narrative. They're way too hot and cold. They're way too unpredictable. They completely lack the consistency of a Mexico. So yeah, man, for Canada, this is a huge, huge L. Like, they needed a trophy, and they didn't even make the semifinal. And that is the video, guys. Like I said, I could probably go through way more losers. There's a lot of players who were losers individually, but I don't want to make this video any longer than it already is. I hope you guys enjoyed. If there was a player or a team or a moment, something else that I forgot, either a winner or a loser, let me know down below in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Smash the like button if you did. And again, there's going to be a lot more CONCACAF content here on DeadBall TV. The party never really stops here on the channel. So if you don't want to miss those videos, make sure you're subscribed. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.